Welcome, everyone, to the January 17th episode of Zooch and Wilde in the good year of our Lord 2025. We have a great show, a very simple show, a very is an old school show. It's just game breakdowns. We're going to be talking about the Penn State versus Notre Dame game and all that entails. Great game. Talk a little Texas versus Ohio State. And then we are jumping into the national championship with our predictions, with scores. I cannot wait for this show. As we left off last week or our last show, we got one more game left, man. The season's almost over. It, if,
At least it goes long now. We get it all the way until it would be over. I mean, I think last night I was seeing like highlights from the LSU Clemson game from 4 or 5 years ago on my Twitter timeline. So
usually it would be earlier in the week is when the Natty would have been. Usually it's like that second weekend of January. But what a year it's been. Is it fair? I mean, before we jump into the Penn State game, I know I said we jump right into it, but I mean, it's fair. I think this year has been a success. I have really enjoyed the playoffs, and to the absolute dorks who say, "Oh, it doesn't create any meaningful games." Like, yeah, they'll say like, "Oh, Ohio State versus Michigan is meaningless." Like all the big games were meaningless.
yeah.
Well, what about the games that truly were meaningless that actually meant something? Maybe like a Florida Ole Miss or a UNLV Boise or a Army versus Notre Dame or Clemson versus South Carolina. Like all these games that people wouldn't really give two rats asses about in a 4 team actually cared, and I think we've got that product on the field.
Yeah, exactly. And I've been kind of thinking about this all year. I think people sometimes have like I don't know if good intentions is the right phrase, but I don't think the 12-team playoff has watered down the regular season. I think people misplace what is watered down, and I do think bowl games are watered down. But I think that's because I would like to meet the person who gave a realistic argument of why you need so many bowl games, because I think that is why you see so many opt-outs and stuff like that, is because it doesn't, and not for all 134 teams or however many there is now, but I don't think making a bowl game is that significant. It's kind of like, to me, like winning 20 games in basketball now. Like, oh yeah,
College
like we won 20 games. Oh, we made a bowl game. It used to be, you look at and I looked this up the other night. We've jumped up like 25 bowl games in this century, and that to me just does dilute what bowl games mean, because
I love the Pop-Tarts Bowl. Seriously, that's not. But the Pop-Tarts Bowl is an actual good bowl game between two ranked teams.
And that's what I mean, is I think it should go back. And I get that there's money on the line and you have different sponsors who are basically paying for bowl games and that TV time and those ads during the holiday season. So I get why it happens. But like you said, it used to be, oh, this team's 9-3, that team's 9-3. Yeah, neither one of them are going to be in the national championship, but it's still a good bowl game. And now and even to the point of like the G5 schools getting to play Power 5 schools. To me, it doesn't mean anything. And it's because it's not that much of a success anymore to make a bowl game. I feel like every year now you see more 5 and 7 teams in one, or there's like 20 teams who are 6 and 6 in one, and that's not a good season for most programs. I'm not talking about like Akron. If Akron is 6 and 6 and makes a bowl game, or Louisiana Monroe, someone like that.
Cheap shots. Get it. Those are cheap shots right there. We probably have a couple listeners, or maybe probably a single person who has listened, who's in Akron or ULM. General Booty, come on.
That is true. So I think that's where people, I think they see that, and there's so many blowouts. I mean, I, honest to God, didn't even realize that there was a bowl game on the night of the Heisman Trophy.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to see the bowl games, and the thing I'll say about it is, I think you are seeing kind of like this. I hope we get almost like the renaissance of bowl games, because I do think, like you said, we've hit a point of oversaturation. But then I do think you get these bowls like the Pop Tarts Bowl and the Duke's Mayo Bowl, and to maybe a lesser extent, maybe the famous Idaho Potato Bowl. Like you have to do something, for lack of a better terms, like you have to make it like unique and like weird and
Yeah,
almost like in this internet, like play into the joke that like this doesn't, like you said, this doesn't really mean anything except for like bragging rights. So might as well just make it, just like insist upon itself and be like, this is funny. This is supposed to be funny. Like NC State playing Iowa State. That's funny. That's
right.
hilarious. Like, so I think in that
No,
sense, you hit it right on the head. I completely agree. I think there is too many bowl games, and hopefully there's this natural selection out where all the bowl games will either have to step up or they're going to get cut out for bowl games that will.
yeah, and I think it's trending that way a little bit with a 12-team playoff, because with I don't think the 14 playoff made the other New Year's Six games meaningless. I still think those games are pretty meaningful because it was like an opportunity to say, like, hey, we're still real good. Like, we might not have gotten in that top four, but I mean, you saw it with Georgia last year. Like, you saw the two thought processes last year in that Georgia FSU game. All the FSU guys pretty much opt out. None of the Georgia guys do. We saw what happened there. And I think that kind of trickled into this. Oh, like the regular season doesn't matter. Nobody was saying that when Michigan beat Ohio State or Florida beat Ole Miss. They're saying it now, and it kind of goes along with the like, and I think it's the dumbest argument you see out there is this like sensationalism of being super happy that the SEC's not in the national championship game. Okay, well, you
I
have
mean,
Ohio
fair.
State.
I'm super happy that they're not
Which
in.
that's fine. That's fine if you want to be like say like it's half. You're happy that an SEC team isn't in it, but it's not like it's Arizona State and Boise State in it. It is first off Ohio State, who
Yeah.
is legitimately. I think I sent in the chat the other day, hasn't finished outside the top 10 in like 15 years since like
Yeah,
Luke
most
Fickle was the
expensive,
interim.
most expensive roster in football. All that, yeah, no, it's
And
been.
Notre Dame has had ups and downs and hadn't really been a top 5 team, but it's not like Notre Dame is this like.
I mean, it's the most valuable brand. Probably, it's a top 3 most valuable brand in terms of money in college football.
Right. So it's
Well,
not like
speaking of,
they're
yeah,
little sisters of the poor. That's all I'm
well,
saying.
I mean, that's a perfect segue. Let's jump into the semifinal games. The Penn State and We're going to jump into the Orange Bowl. Last Thursday, Penn State played Notre Dame in. First of all, let's just call it what it is. That was an incredible game. That
Fantastic.
if you were a CFB hater, that game was your worst enemy, because that is everything I want in a college football game. It's disgusting. You got 20-year-olds just making idiot decisions. You have 20-year-olds who are better than other 20-year-olds by a mile. For example, like Tyler Warren looked like the best offensive player on the field in playing guys who probably won't even sniff a CFL roster. Like, and it came down to the end, and it was beautiful. Like that was my initial takeaway before getting into any like breakdown, before giving into some thoughts, because I do have thoughts. Just like, I really appreciated that game. We needed that game.
Yeah, I mean it has everything you wanted in it, really. Like you have Penn State, and I won't say it's a big lead. 10 points isn't a big lead. It's a like, all right, we got to get things going type lead if you're Notre Dame. But I texted you at halftime. I said, I think Notre Dame is going to come back in this one.
Well, it was
Just
crazy. Like it was the backup quarterback. Like this is a crazy. Like it looked like for a sec because I didn't believe you. It looked like for a sec, Penn State scores. They go up 10-0. It's like this game's going to get out of hand. Like this is going to be an out of hand game. I think Penn State really, really is shooting themselves in the foot, and just I think the most underrated part of the game that Penn State fans are going to stress over, because we'll get to the obvious one at the end of the game soon. But that first drive where they get a penalty to get an extra 3 plays and still don't punch it in for a touchdown. I think that is a very overlooked part of the game where Notre Dame's going, it doesn't matter how much you punch us in the face, like we're going to keep this thing close. And, to the backup quarterback's credit for Notre Dame, man, he stepped up at a big time when, Riley Leonard, it looked like, I texted you. The one thing I texted you was, I think Riley Leonard's going to make me look like an idiot because I just said he was going to play better than Drew Aller. In the first half, that was just not the case at all.
No, and I think a big thing that some Penn State, and like you said, we'll talk about the end of the game later. But I really think that where Penn State lost the game was they couldn't score inside the red zone. And they got, like, realistically, you could look at it and say they got bailed out. I won't say twice because the first one was definitely pass interference. But that second one, they really got bailed out on the pass interference called on Notre Dame. I think that would, Notre Dame gets the ball right there. That takes a touchdown away from Penn State. And they, except for that drive that they, after Notre Dame took the lead, when Penn State came back down and took the lead, they were driving okay for a lot of the game. I thought the announcers were being a little bit over dramatic with how good their offense was doing, but
you had Greg McElroy in a suit that was 2 sizes too small for him, which he's been doing all year. I think I pointed this out. Like, whoever Greg McElroy's tailor is, or maybe he's just saving. Like, maybe he's just like me. Hey, I totally respect. If you like the suits you got, you like them, but like, someone needs to tell that guy, like, maybe the slim fit. Okay, now I'm sounding like a mean guy right now. Carry on. Sorry. I did not want to call Greg McElroy. All I'm saying is, I would wear, if I could, Greg, I would love to take you to a tailor to get you some suits that I think could fit you more modernly in the eyes of someone who is a little bit younger.
That is fair. He is a flip-flopper in games. He's like,
he really is.
The funniest thing was, to me, I was like sitting there at halftime. I'm like, you would think that Penn State had like 28 points and they have 10. It's not like, granted, they dropped, like, Drew Aller missed a touchdown pass. They could have made it 14 in the first half. But they were kind of talking about it like it was that Ohio State-Oregon game where it's like, oh my God, there's no chance they get.
I think it was just like Notre Dame looked so bad, and then Notre Dame in the first half, and then Notre Dame came out in the second half, and like Riley Leonard played like a guy who's like, holy crap, like he played like a guy who sat down alone at halftime and said, who just took everything in and realized what was going to happen if he continued to play that way, and was like, I got to step my performance up. And to his credit, he stepped up and he delivered throws. And another thing, we're going to, we keep alluding to this. Oh, like, talk about the reason why Penn State lost the game. It comes down to 2 reasons, Zooch. One, they did not have an explosive, like the wide receiver problem, because it is a problem. It is a humongous problem. The wide receiver problem at Penn State came to full fruition. I'm sorry, you can't have a washed Julian Fleming be your number one option.
No.
Like, the wide receivers did not have a single catch. And usually that would be the number one issue. But it's like, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Because Drew Aller threw an absolute stinker. When he wasn't thrown to Tyler Warren, Zooch, I have this stat for you, man. Look at this. Drew Aller went 12 for 23 passing with an interception, and had an interception called back, 2 interceptions called back.
Yeah.
He 12 for 23 with 1 interception, but 2 other balls that ended up in Notre Dame's hands. And the one at the end, I am not a one play loses the game guy, because but that is just inexcusable. And you know what the first thing that went through my head is, and I don't know if it went through your head too.
What's
Brett
that?
Favre versus the Saints.
Well, and
That
I
that's
did
that's
kind of
literally
feel
what went through my head. It's like throwing across the body. Like you just can't do it.
no, and that's what I mean is was an overall like Drew Aller's going to get a lot of the blame. We've talked about this before. Quarterbacks are going to take a lot of the blame, but and I guess their game was first, but it kind of his performance kind of reminded me of Justin Herbert the other day, because I think Drew Aller is I don't think he's bad by any stretch of the imagination, and I don't think Justin Herbert's bad. But there are times with Drew Aller that he has a game like that you're like man, like what was going on? And you don't like I don't want to put the blame fully on him because
I don't know
it
who to
can't
put it
just
on
be the
either.
quarterback that the reason that the receivers didn't get a catch. Like there's something going on there to where either the
And it's not.
receivers just aren't good enough or they
And there's
schematically
no
they're
way
just
you
not
go.
drawing.
There's no
Yeah,
way you go into a game without like designing a play for wide receivers in the passing attack.
right.
And Drew Aller, look, I've been a Drew Aller hater, or like I am not the Drew Aller fan, but he's played well this year. He's played better, that he's made a jump from last year to this year. I
And he's only
expect him to
thrown
make a
10
similar size jump from
interceptions in 2 years,
that's
which
what I
is
mean.
really good.
And I look, if he makes a similar size jump in the next year, he'll play himself into a first round pick. But this this is why it's this chicken and the egg with me, because did Penn State lose the game because Drew Aller couldn't hit those tight windows, or they didn't trust Drew Aller enough to make the throws to wide receivers, or were the wide receivers just not generating space? Like I don't know. I don't get access to the all 22 film, so if I had that, Penn State, if you want to send it over, who's that Twitter Penn State guy that breaks down all the
Oh,
footage? Who like was freaky? He freaked out over like some random penalty that would have had like no I don't know what he freaked out about. Was it Landon? He like freaked out about some penalty that would have had like no impact on the game whatsoever. It's like, dude, relax. Like James
yeah, and
Franklin is not looking at you for like like film analysts. Like I'm sure he pays people on his staff for that.
you would hope that Penn State, it's they're I don't know what to say about them because it's like they're just like stuck in this.
Yeah, no, big game James.
Like,
Like, did he? It stinks because to you and me, right, non-Penn State fans, I feel like Penn State had a way better year than they usually do. You
right.
make the semis. Look, you beat two top teams. Maybe they weren't the big name teams, but you beat SMU and Boise, and you're right there again with what could be the national champ. But big game James doesn't win again, and it stings
Well,
because
no,
I
and
don't even
it's
feel like it wasn't even that. Usually, I laugh because it's his fault. I don't even feel like that was his fault that last game. I
no,
just
and
thought a couple players just had brain farts and just didn't
yeah,
show
and
up on the Penn State team.
the same thing. And I had it pulled up. Give me one sec. The same thing happened in the Ohio State game when it came to scoring inside the red zone. Like you look at it, and let me pull it up here. So they get, where did that go? Maybe I'm misremembering. I thought in that,
The Ohio State game. No, I mean, but
yeah.
even
Well, they got
without the
inside the
stat,
red zone, kicked a
I told
field goal.
that's right, yeah, and they just couldn't score. It's like besides.
Here it is. Here's what I was thinking. First and goal at the Ohio State 3, interception. So that's 3 points inside the red zone. Then they got to the Ohio State 31, so not really red zone, but red zone-ish field goal. And then they got down to Ohio. I was right. They had 2 times they got first and goal at the inside the Ohio State 5 and came away with no points. I don't even know how that's
That's a
possible.
that's a sign of either not scheming playmakers, because what teams do in the red zone? They pack it in and they limit space and they play guys close, right? It tells me that there's not guys who can create their own space. It's like basketball shot makers, right? Like sometimes you need that guy that can create his own shot. It's awesome to have a bunch of catch and shoot guys, right? Who can drain shots all day, but every once in a while, man, you need a guy who can get a bucket. And it seemed like Penn State only had one get a bucket guy in Tyler Warren.
Right. Well, and what's weird with them is inside the 5, and I don't know why, because it's not like Drew Aller is like he's big. He's like Peyton Manning size, but he
Mhm.
isn't doesn't move like Peyton Manning. He can like run when he has to. They've used him to run before, and it's like they get inside the 5, and no one thinks, "Oh, hey, we got a 6'5", 200 and something pound quarterback, and
Yeah.
we're on the 1 yard line. Let's try to sneak it and see what happens." Because odds like it's not like their offensive line is bad either. Like just sneak in and see what happens.
Dude,
Which
yeah.
coaches
We'll
at the one
see.
yard line all
Speak Yeah.
always
And
overthink the situation.
yeah, Penn State. I mean, I'll tell you who wasn't overthinking though. Talk a little about Notre Dame. Marcus Freeman is ascending at a extremely rapid rate. That was the perfect game for Notre Dame. They played that game to a T. Like that's how Notre Dame wants it to go. Just keep grinding. Riley Leonard made the plays when he had to. That back shoulder to that wide receiver, what Golden or Gold, whatever. That
Well, yeah,
was just a beautiful throw on third down to keep that drive alive. And that we kept talking about that Penn State defense all week in terms of the breakdown. And maybe a couple guys on the Notre Dame defense hurt us because that Notre Dame defense, they didn't look too far behind the Penn State defense in terms of talent
yeah,
and the way they play. They looked good, but Notre Dame, there's just this team. Although I will push back, so many people in the national media are going like Notre Dame, they're not the most talented as other people. I'm like, okay, this is an entire team of 4-star recruits, and maybe that they don't have as many 5 stars, but let's be real, 5 stars and the difference between a 5-star and some 4 stars are very slim. I think I was listening to this podcast and they said all a 5-star is an economy to give recruiting coordinators bonuses where they can get those kids to come to their school.
yeah.
So
No,
let's
Notre
pump the
Dame gets
brakes on
plenty of
Notre
great
Dame.
recruits.
Let's pump the brakes on Notre Dame. A bunch of, oh, it's the little guy. No, these guys are absolute machines. They're athletes, and Marcus Freeman has got them playing so hard. I think Marcus Freeman could actually convince these kids to like kill someone for him. Like
No,
this is a humming team right now.
no, he is like the embodiment of one of those like 80s or 90s coaches who like somehow convinces all these guys to like legitimately like they would go to war for Marcus Freeman. And it's been fun to watch just because he's a likable guy. He's a young guy, which makes him like even more interesting in my opinion, that he's young and not, you know, like Saban was interesting, but Saban was older. Even once he got to Alabama, I mean, he was an older guy. So it's gonna be interesting to see. We get a rematch of that game, and it was
We do.
like, and like I remember watching that game. Notre Dame dropped an interception and would have won that game against Ohio State a couple years ago, but
Mhm.
they like dropped an interception that
You will
hit the guy
see.
right in the
We are
chest.
gonna talk about that later, and I cannot wait to talk about the dance of that. But we're going to talk about the second semifinal game, talking about the Cotton Bowl, Texas versus Ohio State in the frigid temperatures of Texas. There was a snowstorm during this game. So maybe that's why Ohio State played well, because they were like at home with kind of like the cold and chilliness. This was another good game. The score is very misleading, obviously, because of the Jack Sawyer strip sack touchdown at the end. But I felt like this was another very misleading game. It was close, but I felt, and you could tell if I'm wrong or you disagree. This game kind of felt like while Penn State Notre Dame truly did feel like a back and forth. This to me felt like Ohio State was always running like a 50 53 to 56% control of the game. Like they all like, and Texas was keeping it close, right? But I always felt like Ohio State just had that little edge over it. Even going in to that last drive with Texas, that would have only pushed him in the overtime, and I would have still bet on Ohio State to come out of that overtime.
Yeah, it just felt like, and that was the weird thing about Texas this year is it felt like every time, and I guess the Arizona State game was a little bit different, but it kind of felt to me like every time Texas won a game this year, it was because they were in control, if that makes sense. Like
Yeah, no,
they
they good defense. That's how they played. Like they have the flashy quarterback and team, but they truly were like a defensive first team this year.
Yeah, and it's like I like look back, and I mean their only other losses were to Georgia, but even in those games, they never offensively could find, which is weird for a Steve Sarkisian team. Usually, it's like flip flop, and it's like they kind of struggle defensively, but the offense is usually pretty good. And this year, this I don't know, the offense never. And he said after the game that Quinn Ewers has basically just been hurt since he got to Texas, is what it sounded like.
I
But
mean, it's
it
gonna be interesting. Go for it. Sorry.
well, and the issue with that is, and I mean, I'll say it, like he was fiercely loyal to Quinn Ewers, but I've seen a lot of people saying like Arch Manning should have been in, blah blah blah. You can't. That's a There's a no-win situation in that because if he throws Arch Manning in there, who's played sparingly since like September, and it like goes to shit, then everyone's gonna be like, oh, why'd you throw Arch Manning in there? Like
Better to roll
Quinn
with your
Ewers
guy.
got you here, like.
I mean, Quinn
But yeah,
Ewers
they
has got
just.
to be the. Sorry, go for it again.
Oh, no.
I feel like Quinn Ewers has been
Well,
the most hated. Texas fans seem to like want to rip this guy apart. And look, Quinn Ewers hasn't played as well this year. Like Carson Beck, he hasn't taken the jump he did last year. He kind of looks like the same quarterback that you're expecting him. We were all expecting him to rise to this first round quarterback, and he's still kind of, personally to me, kind of in that fourth, fifth round grade, right?
right.
But all he did was go to back semifinals, man. All he did was like win games. And it's
Yeah,
interesting because this is a guy who's probably either going to have to go to the NFL or transfer. Because I mean, Manning, no chance Manning sits out another year.
oh no.
No chance.
No, and it wasn't just him. Like they I think what kind of hurt them too was they had a bunch of injuries at the begin in the off season, like during fall camp and stuff like that, to running backs, which can hurt your offensive game plan. And I'm not even saying as much that like, oh, Texas won't like doesn't have good running backs like after their second guy. They do. But it like blocking comes into that and just like little different things come into that. And it just really I mean, I can pull it up real quick. The last, like, you look at them this year, and you know they scored. I'm trying to see how much they scored over 49 point, which is this one is just like looking back wild. They scored over 49 point or over 40 points 3 times. They did against Colorado State, UTSA, and they won that. And that's what I mean. It's like it's so weird because looking like we talked about it earlier in the season, they looked like they were back to being good offensively against Oklahoma. And then they put up 15 against Georgia, 27 against Vanderbilt. Then they have the Florida game where you're like, oh, 49 points. Maybe the offense is going now. And then after that, they scored 20 points against Arkansas, 31
And
against
I think
Kentucky.
that kind of goes to the Quinn Ewers performance this year. It's just been
Yeah.
inconsistent. He shows you flashes of, dude, this guy's a first round pick. Like this guy, I mean, I'm trying to figure out a good NFL comp, almost like a smaller version of like CJ Stroud. Kind of plays a little bit like a peak version of Baker Mayfield, but then he'll just give you kind of like that was slop. It's just sloppy performances. And maybe he is hurt. He got hurt. Arch did play for that stretch, but that's also, what is the old man saying? The best ability is availability.
Yep.
So, I mean, if the injuries are affecting his play, it's affecting the whole team around him. To Ohio State, Will Howard continues to play consistently. This was an Ohio State game, and Ryan Day, while it was close, and I do feel like the offense kind of took the foot off the gas a little bit. This is how I think Ryan Day needs to call games. And we're gonna get into it with Notre Dame because I feel like there's some potential here, where Ryan Day is gonna have the fork in his road because we've talked about it. Ohio State wins games like with the Blitzkrieg, FU, we're gonna just roll it out right at the beginning. No none of this ball control, none of this try to play it conservatively. We're gonna get our athletes going because they are better than your athletes.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's, I don't know. It's kind of weird because the Ohio State offense looked good at times during that game, and then there's other times it was kind of similar to the Penn State Notre Dame game, except Notre Dame was able to come out on top. Because there was times where it felt like, oh, if Ohio State scores here, it's going to be over. But I think what's getting lost in the Ohio State win is their offense looked inconsistent during big portions of that game
Yeah,
too. It's not, I'm trying to look at their drives real quick because 7 points came from a strip sack at the end of the game. So had that not happened, you have 21 points. I guess maybe they would have went down and scored. Yeah, but they scored on the first drive. They went 10 plays and 64 yards, and then after that, punt, 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 punt. And that's what the other one was. They had that at the end of the first half, they had the one play for 75 yards.
Yeah.
That was kind of, I don't care what anyone says, that's kind of a broken down play. You're not, Ohio State fans can say whatever they want to. You were not expecting the score on that play. That to me seems like more of a.
No, it definitely is an issue, but it is, and that's what I mean by it just felt like Ohio State should have been doing more of that. Quinshon Judkins, you have all these guys, but it still seems like they're limited. And I think is it fair to say they're limited because of the quarterback position? I know it's beating a dead horse. And we're at almost the last of the year, but
well, no,
are they limited because of Will Howard?
If you really if I was Pete Kwiatkowski at Texas and you're watching the game film after it, I'm overall not too mad at how the defense played. I have it pulled up in front of me. Ohio State legitimately had, the first, like I said, the first drive was a touchdown. The rest of the half they punted until the one play 75 yards, and then interception. Second half interception, punt, and then finally 13 play 88-yard drive touchdown in the fourth quarter. So if you really look at it, they had 2 sustained drives the whole game. And then it's not I'm not saying that's I mean their offense can't score or anything like that, but it's not like they were going up and down the field at will, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So I think that is something, if you're Notre Dame, you look at that and you're like, okay, well, this offense isn't, because I saw someone saying the other night, oh, is this the best offense since Joe Burrow's LS? No, they're not even. That
First of all, you cannot have Will Howard as your quarterback and be considered the best in anything. Sorry. And Will Howard is a good quarterback, okay? Good number, 18, my favorite number. But still, it's the number I wore. Sorry, Will Howard.
Yeah.
I have bias towards. It's an awesome jersey. You look great in that jersey, man. And you're a good player. But no,
right.
sorry. that is you're not the best offense because they've had these issues, like you said, Zooch, where it's just they'll look like the explosive athletes, and then it'll just be like there's like a screw missing because everything looks like it should be working, but it's not.
Right. No, that's what I mean. It's like it's not like the offense was unstoppable at any point in that game. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They punted 6 times and they had, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 drives. 6 times in 10 drives. They punted, and like I said, 2 of those drives were really good. It must have been 7 punts. 2 of the drives were long, actual sustained drives. And what I mean by that, it wasn't one play 75 yards is on a screen pass is a broken play. I'm sorry, but that's and like good on Ohio State. Like it was a good time to call it because I'm sure Texas was like kind of waiting on, they'll probably try to like throw it once or twice and see if they can get to field goal range. It's the end of the half. And we'll see what happens. They clearly weren't ready for a screen that went 75 yards, but
no, they weren't. And I think that's kind of Texas thing. In those games, you kind of got to get the play. You like,
and there was 29 seconds left in that drive too. So that's what I mean is, part of me also thinks Texas was probably preparing for them to still like, all right, they have the lead at half. Like they're gonna have, or we're gonna be tied at halftime. They don't want to risk anything. Like,
and that's why I do
a lose-lose because Georgia did try to go out and score, and you saw what happened to them. Like, so
I'll say this is where I'll end it. Like, that's what I mean. Like, Ryan Day needs to do that. Like, that is Ohio State. Like, not this, like, kind of conservativeness that he can get into. Like, Chip Kelly, I need a hat, but instead of Make America Great Again, it needs to be Make Chip Kelly 2011 again. Yeah. Like, that's the kind of shit that he needs to be doing, man. Like, I don't, like, it's just like, yeah, calling screen passes, being aggressive. But we'll see.
Well, and it's been a season-long thing for Ohio State, too. They've had a few games that they haven't, they're not out, it's not like they're out there averaging, 56 points a game. They've had quite a few games where they've been held to under 25 or so. So I don't necessarily buy into the, like, they're going to put up 45 on Notre Dame, which we're about to get into.
We will get into that. But before we get into that, we will quickly be doing our weekly segment, The List, where we bring you tweets that we get on Twitter in the burnerverse in the college football world. Funny college football memes, sometimes just regular memes. As always, we neither support these nor condone these. Somewhere in the middle, we are just reporters bringing you guys the stuff that we see online. Zooch, I'm going to start it off. I got a couple this week. The first one comes from at Clemson Pepe, and it just says Riley Leonard and Drew Aller. Just search up at Clemson Pepe, Riley Leonard, and Drew Allard, and the photo is of a certain video, a screenshot of a YouTube video, which I cannot say, but just do it. Trust me, guys. The second one is that I can't do that one. I can't do that one. The third one is from at Offense OPY Chase. Must be a PGR Chase
that was
fan.
one of mine.
Yep. So you already know the one I'm talking about. It's Quinn Ewers pocket awareness be like. And then it is a video, and it's of a moose getting hit by a truck on the interstate. Just not good. My third one comes from Zooch. You may have this one too. Comes from at NBA Tep Boy. And this has nothing to do with anything college football playoff related, but it says, I hear Malachi Nelson has NIL offers from Rib Hut and Chico's Tacos. # satire. Mean. And I think this guy's a UTEP fan. We wish Malachi nothing but the best, man. I hope he balls out and, kind of weird situation with him, but I hope that he plays well. And the last one comes from at Rizmani Rowe. And it was one that banged this week in the burnerverse, and it was just average XL Peter Millar wear, and it was just this guy. It was just a picture of this guy. So, yeah, that's what I had for the week. Had some good ones. So, Zooch, I'll toss it to you real quick.
Well, you had 2 of my 3 on
Which
here.
which ones did I have? The Malachi and the
Malachi and the Drew Aller
Quinn
pocket
Ewers.
presents or Quinn Ewers
That
pocket presents.
that was a good one. That was a unique one too. That I was like, what the heck?
I was not ready for that one. And the last one is one close to home, and it is a guy who we share a lot of his tweets. He is getting pretty famous on the Boise State Twitterverse, and
Oh
he
my gosh. Is this so this was the one I didn't say, but I know exactly what you're talking about. Oh my gosh. This is good, guys. This is some classic Boise State Twitter world right here.
So it came out that probably our biggest news guy, BJ Rains, was following Sidney Thomas on Twitter, which I pointed out to the fellas a couple weeks ago. I was like, oh, look, hey, BJ Rains follows Sidney Thomas. So
Ball knower.
So anyway, another fan saw it and was like, oh, BJ knows ball, and took a screenshot of Sidney Thomas's profile, and it said followed by BJ Rains. BJ Rains said a story of her dad, which was the funniest tweet out of all of them, was her dad is the Joey Jenkins of Cardinals games. Which I don't know why I laughed at that for 30 minutes when he said that.
Who is Joey Jenkins? Is this some inside joke that I don't get?
A hype man for the games. He'll be screaming
okay.
You'll be down 1 and have the ball with 8 seconds left at a basketball game, and he's screaming into the mic
guy?
when you're Leon Rice is trying to draw up a play and please shut the hell up. Anyways, Gabe Iguodala, great account to follow. This tweeted,
but also very borderline list. Gabe Iguodala is always bordering the list.
Yes. He just tweeted in response to people pointing out that BJ Rains follows Sidney Thomas, freaky BJ.
That is a true list, Gabe Iguodala. Nothing wrong with being a ball knower. Nothing about being a ball knower. Sidney Thomas, and that's actually a crazy fun fact that I don't know. That honestly, I want to thank BJ for giving me a way out when someone tells me, why are you following Sidney Thomas? I'm going to say, well, her dad's the Joey Jenkins of Cardinals baseball.
Exactly. Wait, you didn't know? That's exactly why Gabe is always borderline list. When Carson Beck said he was entering the portal, he said March for Beck. He, just said choose your fighter, short hair Meadow or spiky hair BJ.
This is just and Gabe Iguodala also. This is like we said, he's a funny guy, funny account, but he was also the one that spearheaded the tossing the goalpost into the river. So if you are a Facebook mom or dad and we're pissed off about that, I point your anger towards Gabe Iguodala.
Yeah, that's where you need to go. Like I said, great follow, but as you said, he is very much on the watch list right now.
Oh, that was a solid list. A very Boise list. I like that. Put it local. We're supporting local business. Let's move on, man. The national championship. Last thing we're going to talk about. The last game of the year, man. I am so excited for this game. I think, like you said, no Southern team in it for the second year in a row. I'm sure the weirdos who let TV ratings can control their sport, and whether they like it or not are going to hate this, because of course it's probably going to be a couple million viewers less than what Notre Dame. It's Notre Dame, Ohio State. Like you said, for anyone who's like, haha, SEC's not in it. It's not like the little guys in it. Sometimes you get in college basketball. Literally, it's Ohio State and Notre Dame.
It's not Texas Tech and Virginia. It's Notre Dame, the most far and away the most nationally followed team, probably in college sports, not just college football. Any mall you go into, their sports store, I guarantee you they have Notre Dame here, and that can't be said for most other teams. It's a huge it's the biggest Catholic school in the United States, so they're going to have fans all over the country. And Ohio State's a big school too, so I mean, you might see some sort of a dip, but I don't know. Like it's a
It'll just be
national
whether the South.
championship.
We'll see if the South shows up and whether they just like stroking themselves or whether they actually like ball. But there's so many storylines in this game. There's the Lou Holtz, Ryan Day. There's the Marcus Freeman connection with Ohio State. There's these two quarterbacks who are very, very similar in the fact that kind of the national media and everyone has kind of felt like it's not them, but their team has kind of brought them there and they've been along for the ride. It's just a lot of stuff happening. At first, I want to jump into can we start with the funny one? I mean,
The Lou
Ryan
Holtz,
Day, Ryan Day and Lou Holtz. I mean, this is going to be hilarious. I mean, what do you like? First of all, you already know they're going to bring Lou Holtz out. Like something's going to happen with Lou Holtz, and Ryan Day is going to try to underplay it. But you already know, like Ryan Day wants to like Homer Simpson, Bart Simpson, like ring Lou Holtz out and like put him 6 feet under.
yeah, and the Ryan Day can't really walk back from it because he had such a meltdown over what a 90-year-old man said about it. It's like if you like, and I thought about that afterwards. I was like, that is the reaction Lou Holtz wanted to get out of you by saying that. He was hoping like you would have a complete meltdown on national television, like you did, instead of just like. And it's not like Lou Holtz is like to me, it kind of looked like Ryan Day takes himself way too seriously. Lou Holtz doesn't. He literally went on Pat McAfee's show with the guy who mocks Lou Holtz list and like had a conversation. So Lou Holtz isn't like a guy who like takes himself overly serious. I think Lou Holtz is like, yeah, like I'm a short, older guy who used to coach football with a list, like, but I'm also like I've won national championships, like coached at the University of Notre Dame that had success. Was like really their last coach to have the ultimate success. We'll see what
Charlie
Marcus
Weiss
Freeman
was
does.
good too. Okay, I mean, we can't forget about Charlie Weiss.
He who must not be named.
I hear he has a good son now too, coaching ball.
I go back and forth on the son of Charlie Weiss.
Do you think if he changed his last name, it would be better for Charlie Weiss Jr.? Do you think if he started going by like his middle name, like if it was Charlie whatever Jr., like was he just went by like Charlie whatever?
It would probably be better for him because a lot of Ole Miss fans are just like, you know, Ole Miss will lose. It's like, oh, how's your fat ass dad doing? Stuff like that. On his Twitter account, which is mean and uncalled for. But yeah, it's like, I don't know. Like, I think it's just two different like, I'm not saying the Ohio State guys don't like Ryan Day, but I don't know that they love Ryan Day like Notre Dame seems to love Marcus Freeman. Like, and Marcus Freeman is like, he kind of gets away with a little bit because he is so likable. And like, if Notre Dame turns into a power and starts winning national championships, this will change. But he's kind of always on the refs too. Like, if you watch Notre Dame, these
are both kind of uptight things, and it's just kind of the story of like, does Ryan Day finally break through the hump? And like I said last week, an Ohio State national championship covers all wounds from this year, whether it's not making the Big Ten championship and losing to Michigan. It covers everything. Or does Marcus Freeman, like I said, pretty much shoot himself into the top 3 coaches in the sport? Probably like it would be what, Kirby Smart, and then serious conversation to put Marcus Freeman at number 2.
Right.
Like, honestly.
Like, no, I mean, he has kind of come in there. It's the weirdest thing ever because, like we talked about a little bit last week, they went out on a limb, hired a guy who had never coached as a head coach before after Brian Kelly, who had been pretty successful at Notre Dame, hadn't won, you know, a big bowl game or a national title, but a bunch of 10-win years, some 11-win years, New Year's Six appearances, national championship game appearance. So if Marcus Freeman in his third year like I don't know if there's anything bigger you can do in college football than win a national championship
No,
at Notre Dame. Like and I get, Alabama's a great school, USC is a great school, Ohio State, Jim Harbaugh doing it at Michigan. I get all that, but when Notre Dame is a true blue blood, and not that Ohio State isn't, but Notre Dame winning a national title gets eyes that won't I don't know. I guess what I'm saying is a lot of people just like Notre Dame. So if they win the national title, you're going to get a lot more eyeballs on the sport than if Alabama had won it again, or Georgia, or Ohio State, or even USC. So that's why I think it's really the biggest thing you can do in college football is win a national title at Notre Dame, because the academics are different. It's a lot. You can't go to Notre Dame and have a 2.2 G. That's not how the school runs its program, and they never. I mean, that's just how it is. So that you don't have the leeway, I guess, that you would at a bunch of other schools. So it's honestly super impressive if he can get it done.
No, it'll be interesting to see. Well, the matchup I think I'm looking forward to the most in this game is I want to see, or it's not even a matchup, more of so of a mind game. We mentioned the Lou Holtz thing. Does Ryan Day try to play right into Notre Dame's hands? Because it'd be but how does Ryan Day attack this Notre Dame defense? Or how does Chip Kelly attack this Notre Dame defense? Does it get Michigan game-esque? Or does he say, fuck you, and they fire on all cylinders and becomes Oregon game-esque? Those are two real options. Those are two very real options for Ohio State.
Yeah, and it's the whole thing is very interesting to me because Penn State did have a lot of success running the ball against Notre Dame, and some of that's due to Notre Dame's at this, and everybody is at
That's
this point
another
in the
thing.
season.
Penn State. Sorry to go back on Penn State. I felt like this was the one thing I forgot to say. I felt like Penn State was running the ball for 5 yards a carry, and then they felt like they had to throw because they had Drew Aller. Sorry.
They did that against Boise State too, and it didn't make any sense to me. And I was in the stadium. I was like, "Why are you running?" I had.
Sorry to go back.
I had one meltdown in the Boise State game. It was when we had our fifth false start. I was like, "Listen to the!" I screamed, "Listen to the cadence!" And the woman next to me was like, "He's right. He's right."
Was it? At least it wasn't. Never mind. Not gonna go there. But
and I do have. I forgot to mention. I do have resident Sooner fan Cody Voisin's projection for the game. He went into a 45-minute ramble on. You know how he can get where you can't even get a word in edgewise on one of his rants about how the boys want to play for Marcus Freeman and.
Yep, I bet. Was there anything discussed X's and O's, or was it just strictly off vibes?
No, it was just and it was the boys want to play for Marcus Freeman, and whoever drafts Tyler Warren is gonna get a man at that position. He is Gronk and George Kittle and Travis Kelce.
Facts. He is a man. Fact. 100% fact. Tyler Warren is a man.
And that James Franklin should go back to coaching Vanderbilt, even though he was.
That's one of my favorite Cody quotes of all time. Is that James Franklin should go back to coaching Vanderbilt in the Liberty Bowl. But back to the national championship. Sorry, everyone. We just got caught on the tangent. I am looking forward to seeing how Chip Kelly attacks this defense. Because, like you said, they had some success at times running the ball. Ohio State, though, has been at its best when it's kind of like this balanced offense, very aggressive. We're running it, but we're also doing some outside runs. We're doing some swing passes or screen passing. We're firing the ball down the field. I think if they go the way I think it's going to go out is I think if they go the route of trying to fire it down the field, I think Ohio State is going to find success. I just have this feeling if they try to do like the whole, oh, we're going to like play it around, play it swings, whatever, I see Notre Dame stopping that. I truly do.
Yeah, I don't know. I honestly feel like either team can win this game, and I guess I'm just going to go back to what I said at the beginning of the playoff, where I had the winner of Notre Dame and Georgia uh, winning national title, and that's why I'm going to pick Notre Dame. Like, I think that to me, they kind of have a feel right now that they're not letting anything get, like, it doesn't matter if they're overmatched, the underdog, any of that kind of stuff. They just have found ways to win since that NIU game. And even when it looked really dark, like that Penn State game the other night, like looked super dark, you're down 10-0, you're having no offensive success whatsoever, and they come out and make great halftime adjustments and come out and win, even in that Georgia game, like that one was as close as it could get at halftime. They find a way to pull away, hang on. So I guess we'll see. I mean, I guess I could see an alternative where Ohio State just plays like everyone says Ohio State was going to play this whole year, and it looks like the Oregon game, but I don't know. I really don't know.
So like I said, I see this game going one of two ways. Either the aggressive Ohio State comes out, the 2011 Chip Kelly comes out, that defense, Jack Sawyer, a guy playing with his butt on fire, with everything to prove, just a pissed off guy at the world, and they come out and it is like just they smoke them. I also see another scenario. Timothy Chalamet doom. Stay with me now. I'm seeing the paths. I think Ryan Day and the whole Lou Holtz tough team pressure, get the monkey off my back, try so hard to not take it seriously. Like be like, oh, none of that's a big deal. He takes it so unseriously that he takes it seriously. Like I think Ryan Day needs to do like some sort of what is that what's that what's what I'm calling it? Like rejection exposure therapy. Ryan Day needs exposure therapy with all this. If there's a clip this. Ryan Day needs to go full B Rabbit in 8 Mile. Like I am white. I am a fucking bum. I do live in a trailer with my mom. And he needs to do yeah, I am Ryan Day. I am cringy. I have failed in the past. I have lost to Michigan. You know what? Sometimes my teams do play soft. Sometimes we don't show up. But guess what? We're here right now. We are Ohio State. We're going to play Ohio State football, and that's scored 40 points by halftime and throwing in our second stringers and then just being the most insufferable people on the planet. That is what Ohio State should do. Do I think they will do it? No. Well, no, I don't. And that's why I am with you. I think Notre Dame's going to win another sluggy mudfest.
Well, and I think that's been the biggest difference between Marcus Freeman and Brian Kelly is Marcus Freeman, and I knock on wood, I hope it doesn't happen, but he hasn't gotten blown out in these big games. They might not have, won the Ohio State game the couple times they played them in his first 2 years, but they were a lot closer than, Brian Kelly would get in some of these games and it would be 38-3, and that just hasn't happened. Marcus Freeman has had the losses to Marshall and NIU that you can't really explain, but especially that is just would be so wild to look back on and be like, wow, this Notre Dame team lost to NIU and won the national title.
Mountain West win right there.
But it's in a weird way, it kind of reminds me of, and granted, like Ohio State team was like killed a bunch of people, but so did Notre Dame leading up into this. Like the last time Ohio State won a national title, they lost to Virginia Tech, like the second game of the season, and that Virginia Tech team was like 5-7 or something. I'll look them.
Beamer ball.
7-6. So it's not like, and I yes, I'm aware that Virginia Tech is better than NIU, but it's not like a 6-6 Virginia Tech was like a world beater, and they just got,
That's fair. Do you have
Ohio State got hot.
Do you have a score?
I'm gonna go 24-13 Notre Dame.
Wow, I'm going to go 27-20. Nope. I'm gonna go 28-27 Notre Dame.
Right? That would be
I think we get an absolute classic. I think we get a classic. And I also think we get, if Notre Dame wins, I think we either get a Jack Sawyer complete meltdown, or we get random Notre Dame fan in the stands, like crying, and like his wife is like just looks visibly upset because like she wants to like leave the stadium, and just some guy is like staying there being like, we gotta take it in, sweetie, like this we got here, we gotta take it in.
well, hey,
One of those things will happen.
They've been waiting a long time for a national title, Notre Dame fans. So if they win, soak in every minute of it, because you never know when it'll happen again. It's been almost 40 years since they won. They won in '88. So that's a bunch of kids who are dads now who, I mean, like, that's kind of how I think about it, because I grew up a Notre Dame fan. Ole Miss wasn't on TV, and I'm Catholic.
88,
so.
That's literally like 88's last time they won it. That is like not even like young dads. Like that's when my dad was in college.
Yeah, so there's a bunch of guys who are out there who have their kids are big Notre Dame, and like, you shouldn't just base like the last time you won a national title is the last time you had a good season. Notre Dame was good for the rest of Lou Holtz's tenure for the most part. They were really good in '93. They beat FSU, who won the national title. They just happened to lose to Boston College somehow the next week. But what I mean by that is, like, for someone like my age, for example, who the first year I remember watching them was like 2002. It's been we're in 23 years of like, you get yourself hyped up. Like, there's certain years, like especially that Brady Quinn senior season, that you were real excited, and they just get killed by Michigan, killed by USC. Like, that's just, how it's been for them for a long time. So, and Ohio State hasn't had that. I hate to break it to Ohio State fans. You've won 2 national championships this century. So you have not.
Right.
As Ohio State fans, shout out Peter, can pretend all they want that they've had it tough. No, you have not had it tough. Like, losing in the playoff like virtually every year is not.
Shout out resident Ohio State fan Pete. We'll have to next season. This is what we call in the business a post credits teaser. We maybe some new potential characters this year. We have introduced resident Sooner fan Cody Voisin. Maybe we get some more resident fans coming in next college football season.
Yeah, we need to.
We have some in the pipeline. Let's just say that.
Need Cody. I just want Cody to come on for 10 minutes one day and explain. I have never seen somebody go into an hour-long rant about Dallas Carter from Friday Night Lights and how good they were, and then spend 10 more minutes talking about Tim McGraw as a dad in Friday Night Lights.
Oh my God, it's classic stuff, man. But dude, this is our last episode. The next episode we do will be officially episode number 1 of postseason.
Yep.
This is the last one. I mean, what a great season it's been. This has just been incredible. You guys who have listening have made it awesome. We've gotten highest views on total on like our clips and our shows this year compared to last year. That doesn't happen unless for you guys. So we really appreciate all the support. Seriously. Um, yeah, just a quick update too. We will be doing our next week. We'll be doing a reaction of the national championship. It'll be a quicker show since that'll be all that will happen next week, and then we will be doing our Zooch's one of his favorite shows, the way too early top 25, which will be fun, which will
Oh,
be
well,
very
it's
very
just
fun.
fun.
And then
And we're
we will
gonna
be
keep it this year. We're gonna keep it and see how it plays out.
yeah.
We'll include that in our post regular season show next year. Like we'll write down our top 25. We'll post it on
Yep.
social medias so we know
See,
where we
we
went
were
completely wrong.
if you thought the playoff prediction was bad, you guys ain't seen nothing yet. Someone's either South Carolina or Florida is gonna make someone look super stupid.
Yeah.
Both those teams can't be good. So you got to choose the right one. But then after that show, we will be taking an extended break, probably 3-ish weeks. Don't know how. And then we jump right into we're gonna be doing it just like last year, college basketball, and just get ready because that tournament challenge is coming back, guys. We had a lot of people do it last year, and we're gonna be doing it again.
Yep. And we will
It
be in Las
same prize
Vegas for
in Las Vegas. Yeah, yeah.
the first
I
opening
totally
weekend.
I told you, yeah. So we'll be in Vegas watching all of the games, um, with a lot of members of the Settle Down crew, Cody, Sean, Mant, maybe some others. Haven't confirmed yet, but still super excited and happy about how this season went, guys. Zooch, anything else?
Nothing else. Enjoy the last game of the season.
Enjoy it. Make sure to hit us follow button, subscribe, and we will see you next week after the national championship. I almost just left the studio. Now we are going to end the recording. Later, everyone.